Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, and welcome to the December 9th, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show with me, your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, Shelley Overton. I would like to thank you for joining me, and today we're just going to discuss kind of what's going on in the sky and how it integrates with us in our day-to-day lives. If you've noticed, I'm back to my old earbuds because I think that the mic on the last one wasn't as clear as I was hoping for. So even though, let's try and clear my hair away from it, maybe that'll help a little bit. Just want a good sound on the podcast. And I'm just going to take this show and kind of go around the chart and talk about each of the individual planets and how they're affecting us currently. So currently the moon is in Pisces and it goes into Aries on Saturday the 11th at 4:46 p.m. Eastern. And we have an Aries moon until Tuesday when it goes into Taurus at 3:11 a.m. And then it's Taurus until Thursday of next week, and it enters Gemini at 3:43 a.m. So what does all that mean? Well, going by the signs, so moon in Pisces, moon is our emotional life. It's where we are sensitive, more specifically sensitive to our family members and mothers. We are really intuitive and pick up everyone's emotional life and emotional energy with the Pisces energy. And that means any planet in Pisces is going to accent that. So moon entering early degrees of Pisces means it's kind of an awakening day of going from that kind of detached, dry air energy of Aquarius, which is very clarifying. And I find it very mentally clearing. When we go into Pisces, because the nature of the moon is emotional and really triggers our sensitivity around the home, and it triggers our desire to probably cuddle and pull inward. It is an energy in Pisces. It is the energy driven by Neptune. And that means it's emotional, watery, dreamy. And that can also mean that we're really tired for the next 2.5 days. That being said, I've noticed a lot of people posting on social media that they are really tired in this last week. Remember, Neptune just went direct about a week ago. And so that was a tremendous hit to our ability to be alert and aware in the traditional sense. Mentally, we go into our emotions, we go into the water part of our bodies. And so that takes precedent. That means that, now we are more in tune with what's going on the other side, because that's what Neptune represents. And it is the end sign of the zodiac. So Pisces is the end of life. And I currently am having a family issue with an aunt who is in the end weeks, I'm sure, of her life. I was looking at her chart this week and she has, I think, a direct Chiron hit to one of her planets. I think it was Venus in her chart in Aries, and Chiron goes direct next week. She's also got a couple other planets directly hitting her, including Venus, hitting some of her planets in her chart. So because Venus is in Capricorn right now and in positive aspect to Neptune again being kind of a planet of retirement or end of a story, end of a era, and a transitional energy, even though it's a positive aspect, it can mean that because it's a positive aspect, that end will come in a productive and positive way. And that can mean jobs, that can mean relationships. I just got chills with that. So the first thing that hit me when I said relationships was Shawn Mendes and Camilla Cabello's relationship, which just ended. And she, I think, was the one who ended it. I am not real up on all the details. I just know superficially that I think she's the one who said it wasn't going to work. I don't know for sure. And then Shawn Mendes posted a brand new song that basically intimates that that's what the case was and that we'll get through this and everything will be okay. And so I found that really sweet and very interesting. But that relationship, if you follow it at all, I mean, the pandemic, the lockdown definitely brought those two closer. My daughter follows Shawn Mendes and Camilla Cabello, so I'm very aware of all this. And they were posting almost daily about how enmeshed their lives were. He was living with her down in Miami, and they got a dog together and all this stuff. And then after Neptune goes direct, the week Neptune goes direct, they announced they broke up. So Neptune can bring, and Pisces can bring this idealized view of emotions and how we look at other people, integrating what they are and who they are into our lives with low boundaries. So it is a sign of codependence. The next couple of days may really trigger more of that codependent nature and that sentimentality that Pisces can bring. So with the moon joining up with Neptune in the next day, it is, again, every time we go through this moon in Pisces every month, I let you know that it is an ending energy and it can be very emotional. We saw a lot of that when moon was in Capricorn this month, and now we've got it in Pisces, which is, okay, the reason I said moon in Capricorn is because moon in Capricorn sextiles Neptune. And now we've got the actual moon in Pisces. So it's like whatever was going on with an ending, especially of the physical body, when moon was in Capricorn, because it represents the physical structure. Now we have to integrate the emotional life, and how are we going to move beyond that? So for the next couple of days, moon will be in Pisces, and we'll be really accenting that need to put our boundaries up and maybe not recognize that we need to have those boundaries with other people. And then as the moon moves into Aries, we're going to experience an awakening of drive and energy and assertiveness. Moon around the home and family life is going to mean that there's a potential for arguments or for asserting yourself within the family environment. And it can also mean that we're going to throw our tantrums. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. We are feeling this drive to exert our youthful energy, and new things come into our lives. We want new things. We want to promote ourselves. We may decide that it's time to sell a lot of things in our environment because we've outlived the useful, or they've outlived, the items have outlived their usefulness within our environment. We're seeing COVID start to peak again. The moon joins up with Neptune, and of course Neptune rules Pisces, which is the planetary ruler of COVID by last year's Mercury retrograde, when COVID started to peak in America. And so as the moon joins with Neptune, it will increase what goes on with this iteration of COVID and what's going on in the hospitals. And I was reading on the AP right before this podcast that, the vaccine is going to have to be geared towards Omicron, because right now I think the Delta variant is taking hold much more than Omicron, according to what they've said online. And so the people who are in the hospital right now are the ones who haven't had their shots. And that means that as Neptune and the moon join up, we're going to see like the peak of that story go on. I find it interesting that also the stock market is having some fluctuation right now. Jupiter's getting later and later in the Aquarian energy. Aquarius energy is very, like I said, detached. Stock markets do have a wild ride under that. And I want to say also with Jupiter, the ruler of sports there, I've noticed over last week, because I watch football, over last week and the week before, all the games seem to be really close, high scoring, back and forth. And it seems like there are upsets. The underdog has come out victorious in a lot of them. And also it is like a battle for that last couple minutes to win. And that's all that Aquarian energy, like it's back and forth, it's unexpected, and it gets us all involved. It's that really strong energy. So Jupiter being in Aquarius with sports, that's part of it. And then Jupiter is also housing. Even abandoned houses now are fair game to be sold a lot in this market because it is just so hot. Jupiter does go into Pisces the end of this year, and I think that could potentially have an effect on the housing market. Again, it rules flooding, it rules emotion. There may be more sentimentality, and definitely because the vintage energy of Pisces is influential. When Jupiter goes into Pisces, it can mean more people moving to country, to small towns, to the old way of life, and also buying up older homes. So look for that to happen over the course of the next year. And then Jupiter also goes into Aries next year. We have both Pisces and Aries triggered throughout the course of next year with Jupiter. And so it is the vintagey and then building new homes as Jupiter goes into Aries, and then Jupiter retrogrades. I think it hits the end degrees Pisces next year also. So we're really kind of splitting next year with Jupiter between Aries in May. Let's say it goes in around the 11th of May. Jupiter goes into Aries, and then it's there for June and July, and then it goes retrograde the end of June. It takes quite a few months, actually, still in Aries, to get back to Pisces, which is October of next year. So the whole summer of next year is going to be Aries energy, which Jupiter in Aries is going to, again, it will be triggering the Black Lives Matter storyline. It's going to be triggering the issues around guns. It's going to be triggering issues of violence and men. It'll be a big summer of sports news. Travel is going to be probably in the forefront. Jupiter, which is airlines and long distance travel in Aries, is about expansion of air travel. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think that the rise in COVID is going to have its peak until Jupiter goes into Aries, and probably as Jupiter goes into Pisces the end of this year. So I would say winter and spring. And then by summer, it's going to be more travel again, and even finding new ways to travel and putting energy into new forms of travel or new vehicles and, airlines, buying more planes, that kind of thing. And then when Jupiter goes back in October into Pisces, the end of next year is going to be probably another peak of whatever form and iteration this virus takes. And it's going to happen from late next year into 23, because as we get to that timeline, Saturn gets closer to Pisces. And with Saturn in early degrees of Pisces, that's when we see the storyline take hold, but also Saturn is the elderly, Pisces is that end of life thing. So there's probably going to be a large scale passing of the elderly come 2023. And again, because we also have Pluto at the end degrees of Capricorn going into Aquarius in 23, really the first 3 months of 23 are probably going to be a tremendous shift of energy from the elderly to new and younger generations that we have. And I don't particularly like to express that kind of sadness per se, but as an astrologer, it is a life cycle. And because we have planets at the end of Pisces going into Aries, we also have a very significant planet that rules the 8th house of death and rebirth, Pluto, in the last degrees of the body, which is Capricorn, transitioning into Aquarius, which rules the collective concepts of how we integrate in society, ending the storyline of the material and the physical and the body structure. Remember, earth signs represent body structure. Taurus is bringing your energy into the physical structure. Virgo is the health of the structure and the systems within the body, digestion and the nervous system. Capricorn is the skeletal structure and the rooting in of our ideology and how we express our ideas in the body and through the health of the body. So all of the earth signs are, I've got chills with that. All of the earth signs are going to express something in the physical and something in the material. So the physical body, the material world around us, and then the energy of how we take care of that, including Taurus is what we put in our bodies. Virgo is, again, taking care. And I was born in the generation with Uranus, Pluto conjunct in Virgo. And that was a very long transit with both those planets. And so that is alternate health in the medical community. So as any planet goes through Virgo, and especially those of us born in the 60s, we are triggered by the earth signs and that conjunction. The next generation in the 70s had Pluto in Libra, and then Uranus was there a little bit earlier, kind of, I think it was more like the late 60s, early 70s. And having lived through it, I loved the 70s. The early 70s were really a wonderful time of optimism. I felt very clear-minded in my life. I was very young. I was in like 7, 8, 9. And it was really my favorite time of my youth. So when we have planets moving into Aquarius, I do see that being a more optimistic, clear-headed time. At the same time, though, we have these planets entering Pisces. Saturn will be entering Pisces while Pluto enters Aquarius. And then Jupiter will spend some time in Aries, which is in positive aspect to the energy of Aquarius. So I do see it as kind of a shot in the arm, pardon the metaphor, but it is going to be kind of an awakening time over the course of next year. I really do see it wrapping up the old story that we've had for the last 2 years. Definitely with COVID, I'm not saying that we're past all of the virus, because I do see, I think I mentioned this last week, when Pluto gets to Pisces in about 20 years, 25 years, let me think, it's 1946. So if 25 years, that's going to trigger a virus again. So those of you who are around in a younger generation in 46, mark your calendars or your alert systems on your cell phones. It's, how do I have something like that information last for 25 years? It's kind of difficult. But yeah, in 25 years, there's going to be that peak again as Pluto goes into Pisces. So I'll be around. I don't know if I'll remember I said this, but hopefully now that we've experienced this whole virus pandemic, which we hadn't for 100 years, we're going to be aware of it as astrologers moving forward. And, I, for one, have integrated the knowledge of health of Pisces opposite Virgo and how that integrates into society. Because Pisces, again, is the collective. It's the last 3 or 4 signs of the zodiac represent a very strong connection to all of us generationally. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, a very fast-moving planet. Comparatively, he only takes about a year to go through a sign, but he's up there, really connecting to people of other cultures. So in a way, it is transcultural, and we see this connection between masses of people. It isn't necessarily long-lasting per se. In charts, it's long-lasting, but in a transit, it's not as long-lasting. But Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, which again, relatively slow moving, quick moving compared to Uranus and Neptune, who rule the last 2 signs. But because Saturn digs in and it rules career, which is a lifelong pursuit, when we see the transit of Capricorn, and I always think of the Beatles and how long lasting they are, whatever the transits were, maybe we should go over the Beatles chart. They actually came in under the Uranus, Pluto, and Virgo transit, because that was 1963. They came to America, which really made their careers take off. So that Earth sign Pluto, and then Uranus also is the masses, really held strong for the long-lasting effect that the Beatles had. So when you look at long-lasting transits and signs, Capricorn's right up there with the best of them, with the top of the ones that you will see the effect last a long time. So as Pluto is in the last degrees of Capricorn, a long-lasting sign, we are going to see what goes on, especially in politics, because Pluto rules politics, Capricorn rules politicians. In some way, it's career politicians. It is the system of government. So Pluto in Capricorn is that governmental influence. As it goes out, it wraps up what we've collectively decided on in Capricorn, and then it goes into Aquarius. And so Aquarius's ruler is Uranus, which does take longer. Uranus takes about 7 or 8 years to go through a sign. And then Neptune will take even longer. Man, we've had Neptune in Pisces for quite a while now. I want to say a decade, but it's still a few years from going out. So as Pluto moves into Aquarius, it answers to Uranus in modern astrology. And Uranus is still in Pisces for a little while, for a few more years. So we're going to see, oh God, Uranus is in Taurus for a few more years. And so we're going to see Pluto answering to how our knowledge of science, our need and curiosity to understand is translated into the material world, not only through doing something that grows, through the physical growth of something, but also how we integrate financial systems, values, what we see as necessary in the material world. So I do think when Pluto moves into Aquarius, we are going to see a major shift of capitalism and consumerism in our world, that I think people are getting really tired and worn out of the constant treadmill of, honestly, we're in December, of that Christmas cycle of having to buy. I know I've been feeling it for about 5 years now, where, you, as an artist and astrologer, my income is up and down depending on what comes in through my independent means. And so, having this continuous cycle of having to buy one time of the year can be really stressful. And that translates also into Aries, which is a sales sign. So when Jupiter hits Aries, we're going to see this kind of freedom of purchase, but also freedom from purchase. And it'll really challenge us to get real with where we put our money and how we buy things and who we're buying them from and how we value our own worth in the sales world, because that's the pool, so to speak, that we're swimming in Aries. Uranus and Taurus still holding true. We've got kind of an uncomfortable aspect between the sun, late degrees of Sagittarius, and Uranus and Taurus. They don't particularly like each other in those positions. Mars is in late Scorpio. Again, Mars in late Scorpio is about value of self to others. Do other people value you? I had a discussion with a friend yesterday. She does a gig kind of economy type job. She is a caretaker. And she was talking about raising her prices and really valuing herself, which I applauded her for doing, because definitely we had this discussion of caretakers not valuing themselves in the marketplace. And so Mars in Scorpio really gets to our psychology and how are we valued. Again, in late degrees, we have to be careful about not becoming victims of people who would take advantage of us. And that's going to be there until Mars goes into Sagittarius, which I believe is the 13th. Mars in Sagittarius at 4:53 a.m. Eastern on the 13th. So you really, and I would not even put it out of the realm that once Mars goes into Sagittarius, that kind of storyline becomes very broad for the masses, that we start to see where the fraud occurred or how information was not forthcoming or forthright from Mars being in late degree Scorpio. Yes, Scorpio rules the hidden, the underworld. I can almost guarantee you Mars in late degree Scorpio, there's a lot going on behind the scenes all over the world, but even more specifically in organized crime and what goes on with behind the scenes in politics, because whatever realm Scorpio addresses, that's where it's happening. Late Mars in Scorpio is the underworld, the hidden, that which is on the other side, mediumistic energy. We've got, it's everything. It's ghosts and witches and all of the stuff that Halloween usually encompasses. is still being experienced with Mars and Scorpio. It is heightening that drive of really researching behind the scenes. Maybe you're more intuitive about what's going on. I've been tremendously picking up other people's emotional and aggressive energy. I feel it so strongly. Sometimes I forget that it's not mine. I think it is other people. And that became clear today when a member of my family talked to me early before they even thought I was up. I was up, but we discussed something, and it was like, wow, I've been feeling this really strongly. And this person really, the energy is so physically close to me overnight that I've been waking up with all these thoughts and emotions. And so I realized that, hey, I didn't even take that into account, that I might be picking up their energy. So if you are picking up emotional energy of other people, especially and specifically anger or irritation, this is a very strong time to still feel it through the 13th. The other thing I wanted to address is this Venus joining with Pluto. Moon was right there on it just before, or excuse me, just after the new moon, because it was new moon in Sagittarius. So that happened earlier in the week. It was the eclipse. Let's see, what was that, Sunday? Last Saturday. And so as we went through the weekend on Sunday, the moon, Venus, and Pluto were all triggered. Women issues. I've been reading more about women in politics. I said this last time, but it is a culmination of a story not only around women, but also around the physical body, around health issues that are maybe more pointed right now. I personally have a reaction every time I have wheat or bread or pasta. I feel my joints get stiff, and it's not fun. So I am very strongly recognizing that there is a connection between gluten and arthritis. So if you personally have inflamed joints when you eat potatoes, tomatoes, wheat, look to those things because they're really affecting us. Uranus and Taurus is trying to get us to be aware of our diet. And then Pluto, also the clues, the hints, the mystery, which is very Plutonian, in Capricorn. What are the clues your body's giving you? It's speaking to you. It absolutely tells you what's going on. And so whatever your health issues are, remember, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is right on Pluto. So you're feeling that energy really strongly right now. As we feel that, and then the transits that are also in cooperation, which is Neptune and then the Moon Neptune conjunction, sextile to Venus Pluto. Remember, right now, Pluto and Neptune are talking, as is Mars and Pluto. And then, of course, we've got Mars not really happy with Uranus right now. So that's going to be kind of an aggressive energy within the stock market, within the value of the system that we're all collectively, Uranus, connected to. It is about a shift in values. And I personally notice things in my life that ultimately translate to the collective, because my chart is really strongly related to America in a number of different hits in different points on my chart. I usually feel what's going on or about to happen in this country before it actually happens. And I can tell you, I think that we're going to be seeing a major shift in how we look at financial systems and our food. And I know that it's already kind of being hinted at. More people are becoming vegan. That's also kind of got its own growth path, being a vegan. I've been a vegan for, I don't know, maybe 12 years. I'm a vegan by choice. I don't make any judgment on anyone else. And I read continuously how vegans are honestly coming up and harassing people, not only people who aren't vegan, but people who were vegan and choose to add meat back into their diet. I am a strong believer in you do you. My daughter is an Aries. She's a carnivore. My son probably would do better in a vegan diet, but I don't judge what his choices are, because I know over the course of our lives, we make our choices and we do what feels good in our own bodies. And if we don't feel good in our bodies, I'm really hoping for everyone listening that you really challenge that and you look at it deeply, because why suffer physical ailment when just a simple change in your diet can make such a big difference in your life. Look at what you eat, whatever that is, and research how that food is prepared, how it's processed in the marketplace, because it's a big thing and it's going to get bigger as time progresses. Saturn will be going into Taurus in a few years. Neptune ultimately will be in Taurus probably later on in a couple decades. We're going to see that, but not probably. Of course, it will, but I don't know how old I'll be by that time. Anyway, Jupiter will be in Taurus in not too long, about 2 years. So, it's a very strong message from planetary alignment and the universe that we need to really look at the cause and effect relationship between diet and our bodies and our ideas that go through our mind, our integration of mood, our integration of environment. If we're having a difficult time with anxiety, maybe we need to breathe deeper because that really gets the oxygen into all our cells and calms our anxiety. So I'm a big believer in holistic health. Exercise, go for walks, do yoga, eat well. Your mind will be clearer. Look into herbs to help you really, instead of putting all the pharmaceutical chemicals in your body. And that's all for this week. I hope you have a good week. Oh, I didn't even talk about Mercury. Mercury is in late Sagittarius, so that is about transportation, travel. He is in a negative aspect to Uranus right now. So if you're traveling, look for possible glitches, look for inclement weather and windstorms and tornadoes, or things that come out of the blue, anything that could be unexpected, anything that relates to the wind, and also technological glitches, because both of those two planets rule technology. The sun is in Sag right now. I think it is more optimistic. And we really want to connect to people of other cultures. So there you go. I'm going to end this and I've got to get going. But I hope this helps you this week. I wanted to dig a little deeper because I've been feeling a lot of the emotional strains and stresses of this time right now with these planetary positions and transits. So if you're feeling more tired, if you're feeling more emotional and wanting to just end it all, please don't. Please find things that make you happy, because it is my personal belief, if you want to be happy, do what makes you happy. That's all. Take care. Have a great week, guys. Love you. Bye. Yeah, that's just saying a whole lot of nothing. I just can't remember it. Shoot. Oh,
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.